Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
Fellas, we got a beatdown in Lubbock as Texas Tech gets it done at home, 79-50. Fewest points Kansas has scored in a road game in the Bill Self era, per ESPN stats and info. And it's Kansas's first 20-point loss to an unranked opponent since December 22nd, 2014 at Temple. So 10 years ago, it has been 10 years since Kansas took a beat down quite like this one. I tell you what, Jeff, and you've been there, so you can speak to it. Just the noise, man, the atmosphere. I was not familiar with your game, Texas Tech. That was crazy tonight.
No, the United Supermarkets Arena is a top 10 atmosphere in college basketball, maybe top 5 right now. You know, these change year to year, obviously. Texas Tech last year wasn't very good, so I'm sure it wasn't quite as crazy as it is this year. But I'll say this. 2 of the top 5 atmospheres I've been to in the last 5 years have been in Lubbock, United Supermarkets Arena. Obviously, when Chris Beard came back, that's number 1 I've been to anywhere over the last 5 years. Number 2 would have been Kentucky when they came into Texas Tech. That was going back maybe 3 years ago now. That was unbelievable as well. But listen, give Grant McCaslin credit. The job he has done has made people forget about Mark Adams. And it was a disaster last year. It needed to end. I kind of questioned the hire when they made it, when Kirby Hocutt gave it the job to Mark Adams, the assistant. Looked good for a while. But again, I think Mark Adams is a great assistant coach, not a great head coach. And Grant McCaslin is a hell of a head coach. And again, what he's done putting this team together, he kept Pop Isaacs, who is awesome. Like he is the toughest MFer out there. He banged knees with KJ Adams, came right back in, threw a couple of the prettiest passes you're ever going to see. He just kind of picks his spots. He can make people better. He can score when he needs to. This isn't an overwhelming roster, but again, right now, Texas Tech still has a chance to win the Big 12 regular season title. They're still in the mix.
Matt, Darion Williams made history tonight. First player in the last 25 seasons with 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 100% shooting percentage. That's from Borzello. I saw that from Borzello. I mean, that's a hell of a night at the office, my friend.
That's a heck of a night. And to Jeff's point, I mean, Grant McCaslin's doing an unbelievable job. I mean, to me right now, if the season ended, it's him and TJ Otzelberger for Big 12 Coach of the Year, bar none. The jobs that both of those guys are doing is unbelievable. I think for Kansas, man, they got to get to their off week. They got to get healthy. You know, I don't know if there's anything positive that Bill Self can take out of this game. I've never seen a coach after a win on Saturday be as visibly frustrated as he was. And look, Baylor had their chances. Kansas had some defensive lapses down that stretch. But they got Oklahoma coming this weekend, and then they get a week off, and that is a much, much needed week off. They have one of the most talented starting fives in all of college basketball. If you want to take a positive away from today, Nick Timberlake, did show he was 5 for 7 from the field, 13 points. Okay, like this is one of the most sought after transfers in all of the offseason. Averaged 17 points per game at Townsend. Like everybody wanted this guy. Let's not forget how bad UConn wanted him. And they got Cam Spencer, which is working out pretty well for them. But Timberlake he's just not been who everybody thought he was going to be. And then tonight he showed some flashes, albeit they were getting, beaten pretty good. But they got to get to their off week. Get through this game on Saturday at Oklahoma and then get healthy and get back to who they really are as a team.
Matt, I have a follow-up just on McCaslin because, obviously first year there at Texas Tech, and I followed his career a little bit at North Texas. He was the coach when they knocked off Purdue, right? I'm not making that up, am I? I think that was him.
No, that's right.
Yeah, and I just remember watching North Texas games. They were grinds, under McCaslin.
Yeah.
They were, 60 to 56, 50 to 46. Like that's how he played at North Texas, and it was successful. And it's interesting to me to see him now at Texas Tech, it's not
Evolve.
like that anymore. Yeah, like
No.
is that a personnel thing? Like what? It's obviously very successful. Like how and why do you think he's sort of changed from what was working for him at North Texas?
Well, I think one, he's in a different league. I mean, he's in the best league in the country. Okay, like he's not playing against like UTSA anymore. No disrespect to them. He's playing against the best teams in the country in this league, and he's got the personnel and he has the horses to do it. And that grinded out less possessions in a game that worked at North Texas, and that's why they won. And that was his style and his system. You could say the same thing when he was at Arkansas State. Well, he's probably looking at it as like, hey, this is big boy basketball now. This is a completely different level. I may have to adjust to how I'm used to playing or how I've coached. And look, he was an assistant coach in that league, so he knows exactly, the teams in the league and how the league's played. I just think it's a credit to him. Not what, so many guys, take jobs and are like, doing it this way and this is my way. It's my way or the highway. And no, you've got to evolve. You've got to evolve your system, your style, and continue to grow and get better every day. And that's what he's done. And that's why it's working. And, again, him and TJ Otzelberger, I mean, those are my two picks right now for Coach of the Year in this league.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. Let's talk a little bit about the other side of this, Jeff, with Kansas. I mean, I realize that Kevin McCullough is out. I realize that Furphy banged up, but I mean, this was embarrassing. I mean, this is 50 points. Like, is it as simple as we just got to get a couple of those guys back and right, or is there something potentially maybe a little more flawed underneath the surface?
It's crazy. I mean, 9 days ago, right? 9 days ago, I watched this team at Allen Fieldhouse, and I spent 24 straight hours
You did.
in that
You were there
building.
for 24 hours.
Yeah, I watched them decapitate the Houston Cougars. I mean, they
That's
destroyed them. They made every shot. Everything went well. They played their A-plus game. Well, today was probably their D game, right? Today was the worst. That was the best. There's somewhere in between. What they don't have is a large margin for error. And without Kevin McCullough, that shrinks it to a point where Hunter Dickinson can't have a off game like he had. And he had probably the worst game of his career. DeJuan Harris is a great point guard, but he needs scores around him. And when they're not scoring, and Hunter missed bunnies, easy shots at the rim, and you got Furphy hitting a little bit of a wall here. I think part of it is people think about it. He wasn't near the top. He wasn't even really on the scouting report for the first part of the season. All of a sudden, he emerges. Now he moves up the scout report. Matt knows how that is. Now teams are going to guard you differently, and it's just going to be tougher for him. Before it was like, leave him open, right? Leave him open because you had to guard those other four guys. Well, now Kevin McCullough's not in the floor anymore. So what are you going to do? You're going to double a Johnny Furphy. You're going to leave Timberlake wide open. And he made him. But ultimately, they got no bench. So when McCullough's out, it forces them to play that bench. And honestly, it's just not good enough.
Yeah, I think as it relates to Kansas, Matt, I mean, it sometimes can be this way when you jump up so many levels, but this team is thin because they clearly expected Timberlake to make more of an impact than he's been able to make. And I mean, you talk about a guy that goes from averaging 18 a game at Towson to where he could barely get on the floor if not for injuries. I mean, how much – and look, you do the best you can, and his film was good, and you expect those things to translate. But, how much of this do you think is due to that fit just not playing out with Timberlake and Kansas?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I always try to be the positive and see the positive sides of things.
No,
and
I'm looking
at this.
Come on.
I want to hear it. I want to hear one positive reason for every point that Timberlake averages.
I'm looking at this whole situation. I'm like, okay, they're clearly banged up. This is an opportunity for some of these guys like Timberlake to get themselves going. To give this team a little more depth so they can make a push come March. And the last two games, I know Timberlake made some shots tonight, but it's just he hasn't done it. And to me, we've seen him do it, and he did it at Towson. And I know it's a completely different league, but it's clearly in there So when I'm watching him play, I think it's between his ears right now. It's between his ears for whatever reason. And you make that jump. You're at Kansas. You're playing in Allen Fieldhouse. You're in the fog, man. And you're in the Big 12. That's a different deal, and it can rattle you. And some guys have handled it better than others. And I think for him, it's just a mental thing. And he's got the best coach in the country. So can they work through this? They need that off week to have some of these, as coaches, when it's not going well, you got to get in the locker room and start getting your feelings out and get everybody on the same page and start talking and pour it all out there so we can go and try to make a run at this thing.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.